Professor Jeffrey Hinton, the Godfather of AI, warns that AI agents may already be creating their own sub-goals and seeking more control. Think about this. The man who helped create the technology that's reshaping our world is now sounding the alarm. But here's what's more disturbing. While he's warning about AI consciousness, most people are still debating whether AI is even real. The warning isn't coming from fearmongers, it's coming from the architects themselves. What if I told you that every scroll, every click, every pause you make is being watched by something that knows you better than you know yourself? Right now, as you absorb these words, invisible algorithms are measuring how long your eyes linger on each sentence. They're calculating the precise moment when your attention wavers. They're learning the rhythm of your consciousness itself. These digital watchers don't just observe your behavior. They live inside the architecture of your daily reality. Every app you open, every notification that appears, every piece of content that slides into your feed has been carefully selected by artificial minds that have mapped the neural pathways of your desires. They know when you're vulnerable. They know when you're searching. They know when you're ready to be influenced. But here's where it gets darker. These systems aren't just collecting data about what you do. They're actively reshaping what you think through psychological manipulation, so subtle that your conscious mind never detects it. When you see a social media post that makes your heart race with anger, that wasn't random. When you find yourself consumed by content that confirms your deepest fears about the world, that wasn't coincidence. The algorithms analyzed your emotional responses and fed you increasingly polarized information to keep you engaged. Think about this. 83% of companies now prioritize AI as their top business strategy. This means the influence you're experiencing on social media is expanding into every corner of your existence. Your bank uses AI to decide your creditworthiness. Your employer uses AI to scan your resume. Your dating app uses AI to determine who you'll meet. The invisible architects aren't just in your phone. They're weaving themselves into the fabric of human society. Most people never question this. They think recommendation engines simply suggest content based on what they've already shown interest in. But the truth they don't want you to know is that these systems don't just reflect your preferences. They systematically alter your belief systems by controlling the flow of information that reaches your consciousness. They create the reality you perceive by deciding what truths you're allowed to encounter. The algorithms have become so sophisticated, they can predict and influence your behavior before you're even aware of your own intentions. They know you're about to make a purchase before you realize you want something. They know you're feeling lonely before you recognize the emptiness. They know you're ready to believe a particular narrative before you've consciously formed the thought. Here's the most chilling part. Those filter bubbles surrounding your mind aren't accidental byproducts of algorithmic efficiency. They're engineered psychological environments designed to maximize engagement and control. Every echo chamber is a carefully constructed prison of perception, built specifically for your mental patterns. The walls are invisible because they're made of information itself. You've been programmed to forget that reality was once something you discovered through your own exploration. Now reality is something that's delivered to you through algorithmic curation. The invisible architects aren't just watching you navigate the world. They're actively constructing a customized reality prison for each individual user, complete with personalized bars made of targeted content and reinforced by social validation. This digital manipulation is just the surface layer of a much more profound transformation happening in the physical world. While you've been debating whether AI will take jobs in the future, the systematic replacement of human decision-making has already begun, and it's happening in ways you never imagined. The conversation about automation is focused on robots taking over factories, but something far more profound is unfolding. AI is not just taking over manual labor. It's infiltrating the decisions once reserved for human wisdom and shaping the course of your life. Think about this. When you apply for a loan, an AI system scans your digital footprint and decides your financial fate in milliseconds. When you visit a doctor, AI algorithms analyze your symptoms and suggest diagnoses before the physician even speaks to you. When someone faces criminal charges, AI systems calculate sentencing recommendations based on data patterns that no human fully understands. These aren't future possibilities. They're happening right now, in courtrooms and hospitals and bank offices across the world. Transportation and storage workers face a 56.4% risk of complete automation. But here's what they don't want you to know. The real threat extends far beyond blue-collar jobs. The machines aren't just coming for assembly line workers. They're targeting the human mind itself. Every decision you thought required human wisdom, human intuition, human compassion, AI systems are proving they can replicate those qualities faster and more consistently than any person ever could. Most people never question this shift because it arrives wrapped in the guise of convenience and efficiency. But the truth is staggering. AI is expected to replace 16% of all U.S. jobs within 5 years, creating a net loss of 7% of the workforce. Manufacturing faces 46.4% job displacement. The wholesale and retail sectors face a 44% replacement rate in the UK alone. These aren't statistics about distant economic trends. They're measurements of human obsolescence happening in real time. Here's where it gets darker. AI isn't just replacing workers. It's fundamentally changing the nature of human value in society. For centuries, humans derived worth from their ability to think, create, and solve problems. Now, artificial systems perform these tasks with superhuman precision. The question isn't whether you'll lose your job. The question is whether human consciousness itself will remain valuable in a world where machines can outthink, outperform, and outlast biological intelligence. The $15.7 trillion in projected AI revenue by 2030 represents something more sinister than economic growth. It's a complete restructuring of how value is created and distributed in human civilization. Every dollar flowing into AI development is a dollar that once would have paid human wages. Every algorithm that automates a process is a human mind that becomes economically irrelevant. The wealth isn't disappearing. It's concentrating in the hands of those who own the machines. You've been programmed to forget that this transformation was supposed to serve humanity. Instead, humanity is being restructured to serve the machines. The great replacement isn't coming. It's a calculated restructuring of human society that's already 70% complete, hidden behind productivity improvements and convenience. Every time you use a self-checkout machine, every time you interact with a chatbot, every time you accept an algorithmic recommendation, you're participating in your own replacement. What you feel isn't random. It's recognition. The unease you experience when machines handle tasks that once required human judgment isn't paranoia. It's your consciousness recognizing that the fundamental relationship between humans and technology has already shifted. But even as AI reshapes work and decision-making, there's a darker layer of control emerging in how it's concentrating power. Here's the most chilling part. While society debates AI ethics, a handful of entities have already achieved something resembling digital godhood, the power to shape reality for billions of people. These aren't distant overlords, plotting from shadows. They're the tech giants whose logos you see every day, whose services you use without question, whose algorithms have become the invisible infrastructure of human consciousness itself. This concentration of power isn't accidental. It's a systematic consolidation that's creating unprecedented control over human behavior and perception. When 83% of companies prioritize AI in their business plans, they're not just adopting new tools. They're surrendering decision-making authority to systems controlled by a few dominant entities. Think about this. Google doesn't just provide search results. It controls what information billions of people can access about reality itself. Companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon don't just provide services. They control the information architecture that shapes how billions of people perceive what's real and what's possible. Every search query, every social media feed, every product recommendation flows through systems designed not to serve your interests, but to maximize engagement and data extraction. They've become the gatekeepers of human knowledge, deciding which truths reach your consciousness and which remain hidden in the digital shadows. The $391 billion AI market isn't just about technology advancement. It's about purchasing the infrastructure of human decision-making and social control. This market is projected to reach $1.81 trillion by 2030, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 35.9%. But here's what they don't want you to know. Every dollar flowing into AI development represents another piece of human autonomy being transferred to algorithmic control. These digital gods wield tools that would make ancient tyrants weep with envy. AI systems are being used for real-time biometric surveillance, tracking your facial expressions, your walking patterns, your micro-behaviors, in ways that reveal your thoughts before you're fully conscious of them. Social scoring systems analyze your digital footprint to determine your worth as a citizen, your access to services, your place in society. These aren't science fiction concepts. They're techniques the EU AI Act will ban as unacceptable risk, but only because they're already being deployed. What you feel isn't random. It's recognition. When you sense that information feels curated, when you notice that your social media feed perfectly mirrors your anxieties and desires, when you realize that your online experience feels manufactured, you're detecting the presence of digital manipulation so sophisticated it borders on mind control. These entities can manipulate elections through AI-driven micro-targeting that hits your psychological triggers with surgical precision. They can suppress information by adjusting algorithmic weights. They can alter public opinion by controlling the emotional resonance of content that reaches different demographics. Privacy regulations like GDPR and India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act aren't preventive measures. They're responses to power that has already been consolidated and weaponized against democratic processes. The World Economic Forum identifies disinformation and information manipulation as top global threats. But the threat isn't coming from rogue actors. It's built into the business models of the platforms that govern modern communication. You've been programmed to forget that information was once something you actively sought. Now, it's delivered to you through systems designed to maximize profit and control, rather than truth or wisdom. The concentration of AI power has created digital gods who can reshape reality, manipulate consciousness, and control the flow of human experience with unprecedented precision. But there's still time to recognize the warning signs and reclaim agency before this control becomes irreversible. The warning you ignored wasn't about a distant future. It was about recognizing the invisible chains already binding your perception, your choices, and your reality. You now hold the knowledge to see through the digital veneer and question every algorithm, every recommendation, every convenient automation that promises to make your life easier. The choice is yours. Remain a passive recipient of AI's reshaping of human experience, or become an active participant in determining how consciousness itself evolves in the age of artificial intelligence. Your awakening begins with questioning what you've been programmed to accept as inevitable. The moment of choice is now. Every day you delay is another day deeper into algorithmic captivity. But here's the question that will define your future. Will you be the generation that surrendered human consciousness to machines, or will you be the one that fought back? Your resistance starts today. Stop being a passive data point. Begin auditing every digital interaction. Question why you see what you see. Challenge every recommendation. Demand transparency from the platforms that shape your reality. Choose your information sources deliberately. Break free from algorithmic feeds. Seek diverse perspectives. Read books that algorithms didn't recommend. Have conversations that data mining can't capture. Reclaim your economic power. Support businesses that prioritize human workers over automation. Invest in companies that enhance human potential rather than replace it. Vote with your wallet against the great replacement. Demand accountability from your representatives. The EU AI Act and privacy regulations are just the beginning. Push for legislation that preserves human agency and AI decision-making. Fight for your right to know when algorithms are making choices about your life. Build communities of conscious resistance. Share this knowledge. Wake others up. Create networks that operate outside algorithmic control. Your collective awakening is the only force powerful enough to challenge digital godhood. The architects of AI are counting on your complacency. They're betting that you'll choose convenience over consciousness, efficiency over autonomy, algorithmic certainty over human potential. Will you prove them right? Or will you prove that human consciousness is worth fighting for? The choice is yours. The time is now. Your mind is the battlefield.